Hi everyone! In this video, I'm going to talk all about my first international master norm. Recently, I played in the London Chess Classic and miraculously enough, I managed to achieve the international master norm. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about the tournament. How did it go? How did I play? What was going through my mind during the games, after the games, before the games? We have this road to WGM journey, and that started all the way back in March 2024, and now we're here, December 2025. A long time has passed and I've played tons of tournaments, but my WGM norms were not quite happening. Either way, I am super happy about achieving this norm. It's gonna be a long video, so I hope you don't mind, but I'll make sure to add chapters so that you are able to skip through the parts that you are interested in. I think now is a good time to talk about the game, so let's dive right into it. So here we have the first game where I faced Daniel Fernandez. He is, I believe, the current Commonwealth champion. He's super strong, but he does have some mixed results. I thought that this is not the worst opponent to face in the first round, like anything is possible, and I thought that I have a good chance in this game. But obviously, not to forget, my opponent's a grandmaster and he has had some really good results and he's a very active player. So anyway, I just played my French opening and we're quickly going through the moves, especially because there's 9 games to go through, but I'm not going to talk about every single decision that I made, but I'm going to talk about the most important or crucial moments of the game. So I'm just showing the game real quick. If you want to check out the games yourself, feel free to do that. They're all online, they were all live. All the boards in this tournament were live. Just a quick side note, this tournament was 2100 plus. So everyone rated above 2100 was eligible to participate. And yeah, it's mostly to allow for good norm opportunities, right? This is already the first position that is very critical here. Here, it's clear that my opponent is attacking, and I wasn't really worried about this, but I was trying to figure out what is wrong with this, because basically my opponent did not finish his development, the knight is out, the bishop is just sitting there watching at that pawn on e5, this pawn f5. It looks scary, but I wasn't really afraid of it, but I do have to make sure that I respond well to this. So here I was spending a lot of time, actually I was spending a lot of time on the previous move so that I could make the right decision here, but I played the move d4 here, which turns out to be a mistake. Now I was thinking about all the pawn pushes here, d4, c4, b4, a5, but I wasn't really satisfied with anything, and I ended up playing d4 because I want to sort of deactivate that bishop completely. I want that bishop to be out of the game because my opponent is threatening to play f6. I'm not interested in taking that pawn because that gives me sort of headache with e6. No, we don't want to do that. So here I played d4, and what I didn't realize is that after d3, well, it may not be the best move here, but it was not really nice to see how this knight was now suddenly ready to jump to e4. Because I moved the pawn up to d4, e4 got weak, and that is basically a very big reason why I lost this game. Instead of d4, I should have played b4, and I didn't like that my opponent could try to develop here with d3, but here I was thinking of the move c4. But here after c3, I thought that, I mean, I really like my pawns here, but at the same time I thought that my opponent is just going to move the bishop to c1, and then the bishop will activate on this diagonal, and slowly but surely my pawns will be attacked and under a lot of pressure, and I thought I'm not going to survive that. I'm really worried about my pawns here. But it turns out that this is really good for black because this knight is simply out of the game, and the hallucinations I had in terms of how I thought that this was a scary move, it's not scary at all. There's nothing to be worried about. These pawns are not going anywhere, and it turns out that I'm fine here. I'm actually doing really well. So yeah, I really underestimated the chances I had here with b4. It's crazy how one pawn move makes such a big difference. So yeah, I made the wrong move, and here I tried to move forward with all my pawns, everything that I had, but it was not good enough, especially because my opponent got his pieces super active, and basically since the knight got to e4, I started to realize I'm in big trouble, but I don't know what to do about it. So here I try to defend as much as I can, but I know that f7 and h7 are super weak, and basically almost all of white's pieces are ready to attack. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 attackers. This is maybe a potential attacker, but yeah, this bishop can also join the attack anytime soon. I already knew that I was going to lose this game ever since knight e4. Here my opponent played a brilliant move, and here it is a forced sequence where I'm simply getting checkmated. Knight f7, really nice idea because knight h6 is checkmate, and there's nothing I can do about this. And after this, I decided to allow my opponent to give me a checkmate because might as well, because why resign one move before checkmate when you can just allow your opponent to deliver the checkmate, right? So yeah, truth to be told, I lost the first game and I was not happy about this, obviously, but I was not feeling great before this game. And it's not an excuse, it's just how things were. And like I was going through some personal issues, and after this, I thought, wow, like it really cannot get worse. Like I lost in such a terrible way. I didn't mind losing to my opponent at all. Like he's such a strong player. But I thought that the way that I lost and like everything was going so bad, I was not looking forward to playing the next 8 rounds. Like if this is the first game, yeah, it's just not happening. So I was really not happy. My community can account for this because usually I like talking about the game in my community, in my Discord server, but this time I didn't want to see anything or anyone for the rest of the day because I was feeling so bad already. With that being said, let's go to the next game. So the next game I was paired against 2100 rated player Saro Hachaturi. I was happy to have the white pieces, but obviously because of my bad game the previous day, I thought, yeah, I was kind of getting flashbacks from this tournament in France where I lost against a bunch of 2100s and it was not fun. So I thought, okay, well, I wasn't scared, but I thought, yeah, I don't want to have a repeat, so let's just see what happens. I play e4, and basically this was the Philidor defense, and yeah, I had all of this prepared. I played this recently also in European teams, and this line that I played, it was really nice, and I tried to repeat the same thing. And here I knew that, so I didn't remember exactly the preparation. In these kind of positions, it's more important to know the ideas and where your pieces go rather than exact move orders. So it didn't really matter what my move order was, but I did know, I remember from my preparation that this was the main move, like the knight has a retreat. That's all I remembered, and I thought, if my opponent doesn't do that, well, I'm obviously not going to repeat. But yeah, if my opponent doesn't do this, then I should be fine. And that is exactly what happened. My opponent played something else. Yeah, he did tell me afterwards in the game analysis that we had that he did consider going back. But it's such a difficult move to make. If you are not entirely sure, why would you do this, right? So that is why after knight takes d4, knight e5, I was really happy about my position because the knight on g4 is loose, I'm threatening f4, c6 is also weak, and basically soon enough I managed to get a really good position. For a moment I did think that maybe I allowed my opponent too much counterplay because this center looks really solid, but after one of my favorite pawn pushes with g4 and g5, it turns out that I'm just completely winning no matter what. So yeah, after some moves, my opponent fought really well. I had to really find the right moves because even though it's very tempting to take the rook on a8 over here, you're taking material, but the king is weak. I really want to keep that light squared bishop on the board. Like I don't feel like giving up the light squared bishop that easily. Also, I'm up a piece, so I don't need to go for more material. I'm already doing fine, and I really want to attack my opponent's king, for which I need pieces. And I'm also a little bit worried about queen takes d4. So I would say that it's pretty easy to blunder here with white. So you have to be really careful here. I made sure to take my time and find the right ideas. I was really happy about finding rook a3 because my rook is heading to h3 and giving checkmate then on the h file. And my opponent sacrificed the exchange and tried to hold on for as long as possible. But after rook e6, my opponent resigned, and I was very happy about this game because it felt super clean. If there's one thing I really love is when you're winning in a super clean way, like no mistakes, not giving your opponent any chances. And I also, as you can see from my time management, I didn't spend that much time, which is quite rare because I typically end up in a position or I end up in a situation where I'm super low on time, fighting for my life with 30 seconds on the clock. So yeah, this was really nice. And most importantly, the reason why I was so happy about winning so early, because this was a double round. We had 2 days where we had double rounds, and this was one of the days. So this meant that I had quite a few hours of time to rest and eat before the next round. So I was super happy about this. And that leads us to the next game. So the next game in the afternoon of the same day as round 2, I faced Nicolas Brunner, international master from France. So for this game, I basically had like, I don't know, 5 minutes time to prep. I was asking my friends help. What does he play? I was in the middle of traveling from my hotel, like walking from my hotel to the playing venue. And as I was walking, I was typing to my friends, help, what do I do? I don't know. And my friends then told me that he mostly plays D4. So thanks to my friends, thanks to my the members of my community, they help me so much in these kind of situations. And yeah, they are ready to help. And then I quickly went through some lines in my head, but also I had like few minutes of time to prepare before the game started. And I pulled out one of the lines that my coach suggested to me to try out. But he suggested this like in another tournament. So I still had this file, but yeah, I had no idea what to do. And I basically ended up playing the Nimzo. But then with C5 and A5, which is not a good move, but it's good to try for once. And yeah, I had no idea what was going on whatsoever. I don't know what the plan is of A5. I kind of just winged it. And I thought, well, if it's not so good, then at least my opponent will be surprised. And yeah, it's always good to surprise the opponent, and maybe that works in your favor. Well, I can tell you that in this game, that did not really go well because I started to make mistakes. And yeah, my opponent made really good use of that, and all my squares are basically weaker over here. All the dark squares are so bad. I'm really missing my dark squared bishop, but yeah, here I played d6 because I really didn't like this pin. But yeah, what else, right? Because bishop takes e4 is around the corner. Basically, my position is quite a disaster. So I'm quickly going to scroll over all of this because yeah, here I just lost the pawn because I voluntarily gave up the pawn because here my opponent has a pair of bishops. And I know that in order to win this pawn on d6, my opponent has to take on e4 and give up the bishop pair. So I thought, I don't really mind that. This bishop is super strong over here. So if I can get rid of that, fantastic. So I was more than ready to give up the pawn for that. And my goal is basically here, knowing that I am probably dead lost, is trying to find counterplay. Try to make it as difficult for my opponent as possible. Slowly but surely, my opponent started to make inaccurate moves, such as c5. I was really happy about this. I wasn't entirely sure during the game what my opponent should have played, but essentially moves such as queen b2 would have helped a lot because attacking b7, threatening knight takes e4, defending the bishop on a3 so that the knight can move. Basically, queen b2 gives room for a lot of threats, and it looks very dangerous. But after c5, I thought, oh, like this bishop is shut now on this diagonal. I was seeing some chances because look at this bishop on d7. It is ready to jump to c6 and control the diagonal, and who knows what may happen. So here I went for knight f6 because I wanted to head to d7 so that I attacked the pawn on c5. I want to make sure that this bishop is not going anywhere. So that was also what happened after c4, knight d7. I am trying to keep that bishop here. So I figured that my opponent wants to play bishop b2, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen because then c5 pawn drops, and that is not ideal for my opponent. So here I try to be as annoying as possible. What is interesting about this game is that even though I'm completely losing here, you might be surprised to hear this, but this was essentially the turning point of the tournament. And you will see in a couple moves why. So just to quickly go through the moves, I tried to attack on the king side. My opponent grabbed another pawn on b7, so I'm down 2 pawns now, as if it couldn't get any worse. And here I'm basically being very desperate. I want to play f4 and somehow attack on the king side. Now, if you look at the eval bar, it says +3, right? Like, oh, that's such an easy win, such a big advantage. How can that ever go wrong? My opponent got scared. And I'm not surprised, because I would be too. Like, if I would flip this board, I would hate having the white pieces here. Because if you look at the position, all these pieces are kind of scattered over the board. There's no harmony. The bishop on a3 is useless. The knight on b7, like, it took a pawn, but even if it jumps that back to d6, what is it actually doing there? The rooks are not really doing much. Like, just controlling the b file, it doesn't mean anything. It's hard to find a way for white to win. So let me flip the board again. So my opponent started to get scared, and he tried to get out of this pin on the g file, but now he walks into another pin. And this gave me some ideas. Now, this turns out to be a very bad move according to Engine, but I don't care because I have a plan, and that is to put my knight on g4. And I am basically hoping for the best, not knowing what is going to happen, but I thought, hey, I got my knight to g4, and that is much better than on d7. And I see some prospects here. I see the light. And after king g1, you can see from the eval bar, I am suddenly winning. Like, isn't that crazy? My opponent only has a few good moves available here, one of them being queen d6 to try to pressure my bishop, but these moves, they don't really make much sense unless you realize that, you know, other moves are that bad. But it's not easy to figure this out at the board. So it made sense that my opponent got scared of this pin on this diagonal, went back with the king on g1, and now my knight is hanging. But I'm not afraid of this because my pawns start marching. Queen e2, f4. Basically, during the game, also the clock broke, which is really sad because I would have loved to show you what happened on the clock. But yeah, don't look at the clock times for this game. But yeah, I remember that I was pretty low on the clock here, like a couple of minutes. And my opponent had definitely more than 20 minutes. Now, in this position, he essentially spent all his time. And as he was thinking, I thought, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm winning this game. There's no way I'm winning this game, because I'm looking at the position and I really like my position. I see all sorts of threats, knight takes h2, f takes g3, like everything is vulnerable in white's position. And I'm also threatening, I don't know, like there's so many threats happening here. F takes g4 is not good because queen e4, and I'm threatening checkmate here. This is simply bad. Even a king cannot really run because this is forced checkmate. If you go here, then it's checkmate here. So basically, in many different ways, my opponent cannot recover from this. And this is where my opponent spent so much time. And once he played the move queen d3, I knew that I'm winning, because this was basically sort of the easiest way for me to respond to this, because I know that I have to play e4. And yeah, as soon as my opponent plays queen d6, I play rook f6, and my opponent has moved the queen again, and my attack continues with knight takes h2, etc. I mean, of course, after, instead of queen d3, what else does my opponent have, right? It's really difficult to see what better move he has. So I played e4, and here I know that, okay, I can take the rook on b1, but I'm seeing more. I take on h2. c6, we're not going through all the variations because that will be too long. And too complicated. It would have been nice to have a separate recap video of this game, but I really didn't have time for this. So yeah, here I tried to simplify as much as possible. Now that I'm up material, I thought, okay, let's just get into a safe position. I could have taken on e2 and win easily this way, but for some reason, like, I was super on the clock here on move 32, so I just wanted to trade pieces as much as possible and to be safe. And I knew that, okay, this has to be winning, but maybe it's gonna take a long time. Here the queen trade was forced, and basically this endgame I managed to win after quite a few moves. It took a while, but here I managed to trap the knight, and my opponent resigned here. This was a crazy game. Now you have to imagine, I was feeling pretty bad about the first day. The second day, I won both my games, and the first game of this day, round 2, was amazing. And my next game, the game after that, I was completely losing against an international master, and I managed to win from a losing position. Think about it. If I can win against an international master from a losing position, what is stopping me from beating an IM in a normal position? I mean, obviously it doesn't work that way, but it is a good thought to have, to keep in mind. After this game, my opponent, like, we were talking about the game briefly, and we were just like, we didn't know what went wrong on White's end. Like, what could White have done better? Because, I mean, my job was to find counterplay, and I did. And I thought, whatever White does, I don't know, but we'll see what happens. But it wasn't really my job to try to figure this out. So I also didn't really know what my opponent could have done better, because this is basically what I was trying to do. And yeah, that goes to show how complicated chess is, right? Even the strongest title players, international masters, or in this case, I'm FIDE master, we sometimes also don't know what's going on the board. So yeah, this was a crazy game, and the fact that I won this game suddenly made the norm chances, you know, come back again. I mean, obviously I thought, okay, I have beaten IMs before, and I was not expecting anything else to happen here in terms of that I would repeat this performance in my next couple of games. But little did I know that things would get really interesting from the next few rounds onwards. Let's go to the next game. In the fourth game of this tournament, I faced Grandmaster Eldar Gazanov. I admittedly have a problem facing GMs. They're just too strong. I love facing GMs because it's a nice challenge and everything, but I just can't beat them. And it frustrates me very much. I either get a winning position and end up throwing, I either get destroyed. There is nothing really in between. I remember that I played one tournament many years ago where I faced 3 GMs in the first 3 rounds, and I drew all of them. Well, the first round, my opponent offered a draw very early, and then the next 2 games I was winning, but then I threw. And then it ended in a draw. This has happened so many times where I'm just unable to beat GMs. The GMs that I've beaten in my life were either they crossed 2500 many years ago and they're now like much lower rated, 2300 or something, or I have beaten GMs that got the title directly through winning a certain event, such as the African Championship, which is a continental championship. If you win that tournament, you get the GM title awarded. So I have never really beaten a 2500 plus GM. Now, my opponent is not 2500 plus, but he is quite close to it. And I thought, okay, I'm ready to play with white pieces, but I was also like, you know, haven't beaten a GM yet. I don't feel any pressure, but it is just a little frustrating after every game. I'm like, oh, I managed to not do that again. I managed to not win again. But okay. With that being said, I was very excited for this game, and my opponent played something else than I had prepared for. Classic. And I thought, okay, let's just play the Roy Lopez. This is what I feel comfortable with. Although I didn't really know what my opponent had prepared, but it turns out, well, here I tried to go for repetition. A fun side note, as you can see from my time management here, I spent 12 minutes on this. The people that know me as a fighting player. I never make early draws. That doesn't exist in my repertoire, in my head, in my book. I don't have a book, but you know, it doesn't exist at all for me. I don't like taking draws. I don't like making draws. I want to fight until the very end. If it ends up in 2 kings, then so be it. But I prefer to take risks and try to win than go for a draw and, you know, not really try to go to until the very end, because there's so much that I could learn, you know, instead of taking a draw early. Here, given the situation, I thought let's try to see what my opponent does. And also keep in mind, I have no idea about knight g5 being a good move here. I thought about it, but I was like, maybe I should try to think about what happens after d5 and everything, and I had to calculate stuff. So that's why I took 12 minutes. I think more than half of it was, am I really doing this? So it was quite a waste of time, but okay, I knew that I would go back right away, and then yeah, if my opponent doesn't want to draw, then he has to play moves such as h6, and it's just not so good, right? h6 becomes a hook quite often in these type of positions, so I was very happy that my opponent played this. Obviously also a little sad, because I thought, oh, it would be so nice to have a quick draw, right? Given the circumstances. Usually I would hate this, but okay. d4. I'm just going for the center, and here, typical Roy Lopez maneuvering. Here my opponent played the bishop d7 line, which is apparently an idea by Smyslov. I had no idea, because I'm very used to the bishop going to b7, or the bishop simply staying on c8. So this I had never seen before here. So yeah, I just played like normal. Very happy about having played b3 because I want to prevent knight c4 from happening, so I can develop my bishop here. And slowly but surely, I improve my position. This is a really strong move, actually, because now the knight on a5 is super restricted. And after bishop g7, knight h4, I am ready to attack. All my pieces are ready. I cannot improve my pieces any further. Well, I thought I could because I played rook f1. Turns out I can play move f4 here. And I can just steamroll through the king side. But I thought I have to involve my rook first on the f file. And at the queen e7, I played f4. And here, my opponent offered a draw. Now, you see from the result, I accepted it. But you may be wondering what happened. Because you look at the eval bar, it's almost +2. You look at the position, it looks amazing. You look at the clock situation. I'm even ahead on the clock here. What happened? Well, here's the thing. It's so funny to see the board because we didn't trade anything. Nothing has been traded off yet. But okay, I was very frustrated by this draw offer because I was ready to play knight f5. I thought, oh my gosh, I really want to play knight f5. I'm ready. Let's go for this. I was so excited for this. But then my opponent offered a draw. And here I'm thinking, I would be kicking myself if I do not accept this and end up losing. That would make me feel so bad because I would end up throwing a good position away. And I had a chance to take a draw and just be fine with it. I spent 20 minutes on this decision. My mind went from, I don't know, it was so many different things. I basically tried to disprove the fact that I could play knight f5. Like, if I accept the draw, I want to justify it. So I spent like so much time calculating all sorts of different lines. What is going on in its position? What if I play knight f5? Is it really that bad? Is it not good enough? Why did my opponent even offer a draw here? Like, what's going on? Obviously, my opponent offered a draw because he's not happy with his position, right? He did tell me after the game that he didn't offer the draw because he was scared of knight f5. No, he probably thought he just had a worse position, but he wasn't particularly afraid of knight f5. And I will save you all the analysis that we did because, well, it would have been lovely to show it to you, but it would be too much to add to this video. But the point is that we concluded that it's actually not so easy to play for black after knight f5, or this knight, doesn't matter. So it turns out that, yeah, knight f5 is a really strong move, but even knight f3 is good enough. I was simply worried that after e takes f5, bishop takes, this knight will jump to e5 and hold down the fort. And then after 20 minutes, I thought, you know what? I only have 2 minutes left. We are on move 24. I'm taking the draw. And obviously, like, I was very upset to see the eval bar after the game. I thought, no, I should have played on. But during the game, I really didn't know any better. And I also thought, given my score so far, I also talked about it with my parents. And my mom was like, Anna, you're going for the WGM-norm. She doesn't understand it fully, but she's like, look, you're not on the level of a grandmaster yet. It's not the time right now to be messing around like this. You have to be realistic and take it easy. And her words made so much sense. Like, she's not a chess player at all. I still have a hard time explaining the norm situation to her. But she has this sort of like psychological understanding. And she was like, you're not at that level yet. That's like out of reach for you right now. Like, you want to become WGM first, get the title, and then you can start messing around all you want. And then maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. But there is no point in risking things right now. There's no point going for this gamble of, oh, maybe I will win this game. It's not worth it. I'm there to get my norm, the WGM norm. I'm not trying to become a grandmaster now, and I shouldn't want that even because it's just simply out of my reach. I have to be realistic, and that is why taking the draw is fine. And my coach also said that this position, anything can still happen. Like, all the pieces are on the board. If it was like an end game and I'm +2, that's an entirely different situation than this. Of course, if I start taking draws every single game, it's a bit questionable. Like, what are you doing? But he said that the one time is fine. Like, it's not a big deal. It made a lot of sense that you took the draw. And yeah, it felt really comforting to know that it's fine. And with that in mind, I was very happy to go to the next game, although I was not looking forward to play with the black pieces. But fortunately, I was set to be playing with the white pieces next. So let's take a look at the next game. So I knew that after that draw in the previous game, I will be facing once again a high-rated player. because I'm just overperforming, so they're gonna keep letting me face higher rated players. And in this game, I played against Hao Wang. This is not the Wang Hao that everyone knows about, the absolute top player, blah blah. No, this is Wang Hao, who is quite a bit younger, but also an international master. And I do have to add that my opponent here has had a crazy run in the past few years. Past 2 years. I believe that my opponent got his rating in 2023, his first published rating, and then he played a bunch of tournaments, not even that many tournaments, but he played a few tournaments where he get hundreds of points, and then he got the IM title. I'm like, I've been playing chess for almost 20 years now, and I don't even have an IM norm, and this man already has an IM title. So yeah, I thought it was really fascinating, but it also made me realize something. My opponent doesn't have that much experience compared to me. I mean, I've played all my life. I don't know how much experience my opponent has. Maybe in China it's a bit difficult to play in tournaments or rated tournaments. I'm not sure. But I know that I have some advantage here. Also, we noticed in my games, I checked with my coach, and my coach was like, basically in the preparation, we decided that it's for the best to play d4. He seemed to have some issues perhaps against d4, or something about, I didn't really want to play e4 and get surprised once again. I thought, let's just play something else. And I played d4. I don't play this often, but when I do, it's always a lot of fun anyway, because it always surprises the opponent anyway. So yeah, I played the Trompowsky. g6, 92, but I didn't take on f6. Instead, I'm going for a solid setup, and here I went. It basically turned into a Tora attack, because the stone wall, I believe, is with f4 or something, or that's the more common setup, but this is just very solid. And here we went for this variation, which has been played by a lot of people actually. So yeah, it was nice to see afterwards that a lot of people play this, but obviously this is not my preparation. I checked some model games that were super fun and attacking, but none of that happened here because the queens were traded off by force. And we ended in this queenless middle game. We traded bishops, and here I got in this position, and I look at the board, I'm like, I mean, I'm trying to find pawn breaks here because it's quite a close position, but it's really hard to break here. I wasn't really interested in playing b3 because then b5, also rook a3 is scary. I didn't like any of this, and yeah, I tried to play f3 e4, but that looks also pretty bad now, especially because there's these pawns and the knight right looking at the square e4. And here I thought that after f4 my opponent couldn't play knight e7, and then he played knight e7, and I thought, okay, well, I guess it works. I spent quite some time here because I was calculating knight takes c6, and basically I thought that this position, wherever the bishop goes, doesn't matter, my opponent can just take here, and I thought that this is not such a bad position because I thought I can take over the e-file and somehow control the position, but turns out that is not true at all, and it took me calculating here after knight e7 to realize this. So I spent a lot of time, I spent almost 24 minutes on this move, and then I decided to simply move my bishop back because none of this works. So f6, knight takes, rook takes, pawn here. Here I finally decided to open up the queen side. It took me some time to get to this point, but I thought, what else do I have? And it doesn't look that bad after all. And after takes, well, my opponent had to take. My opponent made a mistake because I believe that he missed knight to b1. He started to collapse all of a sudden over here. Knight takes e3, rook f3, e5, and here knight e2. Solid move to protect the pawns, and now the knight on e3 is hanging. Here I'm trying my best to keep the position together because I am going to take this piece. That's the plan. I'm not letting this piece escape that easily. My opponent tried to defend it, but here I simply win the piece, and here my opponent resigned. 3.5 out of 5. I was over the moon. I could not believe what was happening. What is going on? I was facing so many strong players, and I have beaten 2 international masters to this point, and I'm on 3.5 out of 5. Now, typically, when you think about it, if I face an average rating of 2400, all I need is to score 4.5 out of 9, because that's 50%, and then I'm basically playing like a 2400. That's the quick calculation I can give you in terms of the norm situation. But it's only round 5. If I play against these opponents over and over again, and I score 1 more point, I have the norm. And I have 4 games to go. 4 games! So I was like, what is going on? And I couldn't quite believe it, because this game was also quite smooth. I mean, my opponent made quite some mistakes where he lost the pawn and then it went downhill from there. But yeah, I couldn't believe what was happening. It is time for round 6. In round 6, I was facing Amit Gassi, a very strong grandmaster. I believe he got his grandmaster title quite recently. I was told that this is possibly the worst player to face with the black pieces because my opponent is super solid. So I thought, uh-oh, that's bad news. Also, this game happened on the next double round. So there were 2 double rounds. This was the second double round day. And that meant that once again, I had basically no prep, or I prepped for a few minutes. And then I thought, okay, if he plays knight f3 and c4, I'll just figure it out at the board, which is exactly what happened. I had to figure it out at the board. So I went for this variation where I tried to develop my bishop early so I don't get in trouble with my bishop. And yeah, soon enough, we got into this very solid position. Here, I played the move knight to c6. Now, the computer does not give this as a mistake, but I would like to add that this is a mistake. I do not have the opportunity to add a question mark here, but just imagine that this move is a mistake. It turns out that the setup here is d6, knight bd7, short castle, etc. But the knight on c6, you're just very limited. Also, my coach told me that maybe at some point you want to play d5 instead. And with knight on c6, that's not quite happening. So yeah, I ended up in this bad position, and I knew that I had to play something queen b8, but that just looks horrible. Like, I don't want to go for this. I don't want to play in such a position. So then I thought, well, okay, let's try to make the best out of it. I really don't like my position, but I also didn't know what I could have done better. And here I made a mistake with e5, because I thought, what else do I have? Apparently I should focus on moving d5 at some point, but it's just so hard to make that move. The rook is on the same file as the queen, and it's just a really bad position to play with the black pieces. So here, queen f5, g6, I tried to make the best out of it and simply developing, but I'm just in a really bad position. My light squares are weak, d5 is weak, b5 is weak, etc. I try to maneuver as much as I can, but I'm just struggling. I'm struggling so bad, and here I managed to blunder a tactic because white here has the move knight takes e5. I saw this when I played knight bd7, and I thought it was very sad, but I also thought that, well, if you start playing like this with queen e8, knight d7, I kind of think you deserve to face this, you know? So I thought it was fully deserved, and I thought, well, let's try to complicate matters with knight e4. I gave my opponent a little scare here, but unfortunately for me, it doesn't quite work because knight takes here, and bishop here. If I take the queen over here, there's knight f6 check, and then, yeah, we end up in this rook endgame, but it's just much easier to play for white, right? I mean, this is completely winning. So I thought, okay, I have to keep the queens on the board and hope for the best, but even that was not good enough because my position is just so weak. My opponent has really active pieces, and I tried to complicate it, but yeah. Here, my opponent won after queen h8. Apparently it was checkmate in 2, which is so funny because I didn't even realize this, but I thought he was just going to take the rook, and it's an easy win there. But yeah, queen h8 was the final move, and here I thought, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I mean, I'm completely losing. Yeah, my opponent played super well here, and yeah, I didn't feel bad about this game at all. Like, yes, it was a bad game, but I thought, this is what happens when I play with the black pieces, and my opponent's super solid, and yeah, I'm just having much better games with the white pieces this tournament. Anyway, I was very relieved that this game was over, and I'm ready for the next one, hoping I'm getting the white pieces again, which I did. In round 7, I faced Siva Mahadevan from India, international master, rated 2400, and I thought, okay, this game I want to win. So we saw that my opponent has been playing e5 on the first move, and I thought, or I don't remember the preparation exactly because I've been surprised so many times. And I thought, okay, if my opponent plays this, he's probably going to prep the Ruy Lopez. Coach, I want something else. I don't want Ruy Lopez anymore. Like, I don't know. Everyone is expecting it now. So he suggested me this variation, the 3 knights opening. Now, I was expecting that my opponent would play something like bishop b4 or, you know, playing something super solid or like knight f6, you know? So I prepared all of these lines. But then at some point in the preparation with my coach goes, he has a tendency to play g6. That's not good. And I'm like, oh, okay. There's no way he's gonna play this in classical, right? No way. Yes, wait, it happened. So I had this prepared until right here. This was how far my preparation went. Right outside of preparation, I make a mistake. And gone is my advantage. My coach was so sad because he knew that this might happen, but we didn't really give it much. We didn't really take it seriously, let's put it that way. I just didn't expect it at all to happen. Like, it was my job to check all the lines and to go through the engine with, go through lines with the engine, but I thought there's no way this is going to happen, and if this happens, I'll figure it out. Well, I didn't. I just had to develop my pieces, but I somehow started to hallucinate that, oh, I have to stop this knight from going to f5, I have to stop castling, and if he castles, then at least he can't move his knight, and I don't want him to play d6, but then he played it anyway. I saw this, but I thought, oh, it's okay, no problem, and it became a bad position for me. Fortunately, my opponent didn't capitalize on that, on my mistakes, but it did get scary for a moment. I thought I was doing fine, but turns out I was not really doing fine. And here my opponent offered the queen trade. And I was like, I want to keep the queens on the board. I want to attack. I want to play queen f6 and h4, h5 and attack. But if I do that, I get in trouble on the queen side instead. So I had to go for the queen trade eventually. And I believe it was around here that my opponent offered a draw. I said no. And I regretted it sincerely if he moves later. Not because I was in a bad position, but because I was getting worried. I'm down to 3 minutes. I have to make very weird moves, such as king c1. Well, it was not the only move, but basically it's looking very scary. My opponent is the one attacking, and I thought, oh gosh, what is happening? Bishop b1. I could have played other moves, but it's just dangerous and totally unnecessary. So yeah, I went for this. Maybe rook takes b3 would have been interesting to play here. I did see that after bishop a4 there's king b4, so we're trading rooks essentially, but obviously that was not going to happen. But it would have been a good try, I think, to take on b3, but just for some reason I just wanted to activate my pieces. I had no time either, so yeah, I thought I want to keep the rooks on the board and maybe I can attack the king on g8. I had a good attempt here because after this I am threatening checkmate in 1, and I was so excited about this, but unfortunately my opponent knew of this exactly, and he played this with in 1 second the move f5, and after this we traded all the pieces, and it turns out that this is just a complete draw because my king is too far away from the pawns. And here the game ended in a draw. Now I was a little bit disappointed that I couldn't get more out of this game. I was playing with the white pieces, I had a good opening, like my opponent didn't play a good line. It had a lot to do with the fact that I guess my opponent wanted to play much more like dynamic, because the other lines in the 3 knights or the 4 knights, they are quite dry, quite boring, and it makes sense that my opponent didn't want a draw at all. Like, he wants to beat me, and if that means that he has to get in a worse position to give that a try, he would go for that, right? It makes sense. So yeah, I was very happy in the end that the game ended in a draw, but I also wanted to win really badly, but I thought, okay, it's fine. 4 out of 7 is still really good. But now there's 2 rounds left, and this is where the calculations begin. In round 8, I faced Niels Willems. Sounds like a very Dutch name, by the way. But I remember throughout the tournament, I would be looking at the standings and I thought, oh, like this player doing really well. I'm probably not going to face this person, so that's good. And I checked this with a few players, and my opponent was one of those players. He was doing really well this tournament, and he is going for that international master norm. But then he lost in round 7, and now he's facing me, and his norm chances are basically very low now. He has to win the last 2 games for the norm. And I thought, oh, great, an ambitious player. I'm playing with the black pieces. My black games have been horrible this tournament, and this was one of the opponents that I really didn't want to face, and here we are. I really thought it couldn't get any worse or any better. Well, yeah, whatever way you want to put it. Yeah, I was telling my coach, like, I was writing him, like, I don't know what to do with black. Like, my games have been so bad. And before we even like start prepping, because we were prepping in the morning and in the evening when the pairing came out, I told him this, and he was like, you know, don't worry, we got this. We're gonna check tomorrow, and you're gonna attack. And I'm like, attack with black? Like, what? What in the King's Indian is this? Well, My opponent started with c4. My coach taught me this line where I go for this system, f5, e5, and d6. And it basically turns into a sort of Grand Prix attack, but then with the black pieces. And it turned out to be a really good version. So I did spend some time in the opening because I know the moves, but I don't know the move order. Like, I know the ideas that I should play, but also I didn't really prepare this e3 knight e2 line. I only remember seeing with e4, so this was a little bit different, or I tried to recollect my memory from the preparation because I checked a bunch of different lines. But yeah, I was very happy that I had this position because it feels like it's more... There's much more life to this position than my other games, at least the d4 games or d4 knight f3 games that I had in the tournament already. So I was very happy about this. There's something good going on. And at the same time, my opponent started to spend a lot of time in the next couple of moves. Like you can see from the time management, he went down on the clock quite fast. So it's move 13 and he's already down to 24 minutes. And this is when I thought, oh, this is amazing because, you know, I'm not doing great on time management either because I should not be on 48 minutes on move 13. That's not really good time management, but my opponent is the one much lower on the clock and I thought I can make use of this. So I'm just trying to put pressure on the king side and my opponent strikes in the center with d4. Now, I thought that it can't be right, like there has to be something wrong with this. And I started to calculate, but I also thought, I don't really see it. Like knight takes e4, knight takes, pawn takes, there's d5 possible, d takes e5. And basically the position that arises in these positions, in these variations, I thought that maybe I'm in a better position, but it kind of looks odd. It doesn't look that great. My opponent is coming back and has some like counterplay. I didn't want my opponent to have such easy... I don't want to say development, but basically his pieces are getting more active. I didn't want to allow that easily. So after like 16 minutes, I thought, you know what? Let's keep the tension. I don't care if this is not a good move. What I do know is that my opponent is not going to expect this, and he will have to start spending time at some point because the focus probably on all the forcing moves, and such a move, such a like silent move, is probably not on his radar. And I'm okay with, you know, making a not as good move. But I want to keep the tension on the board and ask the questions to my opponent. Okay, what are you going to do next? So he did have a quick response to d5. After takes, queen e2. Slowly the clock started to go down and that was exactly what I was trying to do. And I just tried to play very active. I was very happy that I found knight e7. It took me some time. But in this game, I started to become super laser focused. And I started to kind of see the board clearly. And I started to realize how important it is to have this pawn on e5 because obviously my opponent is attacking the pawn on e5 and I wanted to make sure that to defend it, and at the same time I want to maneuver the knight to c5 and the f file is now more accessible to the rook. So this is why I went knight d7, and here it started to get very messy because we're getting lower on the clock and we both don't want to go down very much on the clock. We're on move 22 right now and yeah, it's not much time that we have. Here, honestly, I was a bit afraid about knight e3, but turns out that it's completely fine. But I was a little bit worried about this. I mean, queen takes f5, and my opponent is taking the piece back, but I didn't really like this position so much. But yeah, apparently it's fine. But I was happy that my opponent went for this, because now I can bring my pieces into the game. Apparently this was not the right move, but that's okay. And here I had a nice little tactic, because after queen takes c2, knight takes g3, and I'm attacking that rook on f1. The bishop is attacking the queen. So I'm winning an exchange here, and like it looks so promising here. So yeah, this way I'm basically forcing my opponent to trade the bishop off, that strong bishop, because any other move, like he doesn't really have good moves left here. I mean, playing queen c1 looks quite bad. So he basically is forced to play bishop takes e4, bishop takes e4, and now I have this dream bishop on the board. I mean, it is possibly the best place this bishop could be on. I was very happy about my position, but we're still, you know, in a little bit of a time trouble situation here. I want to involve my pieces in the game, and basically I was so proud of myself during the game to find all of these moves. Like bishop d6 is such a subtle move, but it does so much, because earlier this pawn was pinned on f4, but now my pawn wants to take, right? So I'm just defending it, and this way my opponent cannot take the pawn on e5, so he has to defend the rook on f1. And now I simply traded off everything on f4, and I end up in this endgame. You can call it an endgame, I guess, where this king is so weak, and I'm just in a fantastic position here. So here I'm the one attacking. I do have to make sure to not blunder queen h6. If I play queen e4 here, I'm losing. So yeah, I played king h7 just to make sure, and then afterwards, a little bit of shuffling around. This was move 40, so we both reached move 40 on time. It was a bit stressful here. But here I thought, wait, I think I'm completely winning here. Well, it did take some time because my opponent gave a lot of resistance. And after this, I found rook takes g3. I was forced to trade queens, which I was not very happy about because I thought, oh no, what if there's a fortress? But luckily enough, I was up enough pawns and there was a weakness on h4 that I was going after. I didn't care about losing the a pawn because my goal is clear. I want to push the pawns on the king side. Here, I managed to trade the rook. So now we're in this opposite color bishop endgame, but because I have all these pawns, they're all working together, and I just moved the king closer. And now I'm basically winning because I'm getting the king here, and then I start pushing my h-pawn, and that's completely winning. So, yeah. This is how I won my round 8 game. And I was over the moon. Before the game, I could not imagine at all that I could win this game. Like, it. First of all, the black piece, I was very worried. And then second of all, my opponent is so strong, and I simply did not believe that I could make it happen. There's like no way. There's no way. So I was super, super happy about winning this. I was at the same time also a bit numb because like it felt so easy in the sense that I just won a game. Like that's it. I just won a game. I just felt like I was doing really well, and it just felt so natural. I don't know. It's really weird. Like there were so many things going through my mind. One thing that I want to add is that in the last 3 days or so, my adrenaline levels were extremely high. Extremely high. I mean, it was crazy. I was struggling to sleep. Like I was so hyper excited about everything. It's like having the feeling that you're going to get a norm, but you're not there yet. But it's like, it's this feeling of, I'm about to get a norm, but I don't want to jinx it, but I'm about to get a norm. I don't know, this suspense that I had made me go crazy in a good way. And it turns out that I entered this flow state that I had never heard of. I mean, I didn't take it seriously. I thought like when people say you're locked in, you have to be locked in, focused. I thought, oh, like it's just like, you know, take it seriously, blah, blah. Being in this flow state was crazy. I struggled to fall asleep. I could not eat properly. Like I was struggling to eat. Like I would have breakfast and lunch would be like a question mark because I don't want to eat, but I have to, but I don't want to. And I was going through a lot. After this game was dependent on my last round pairing, but it was basically like impossible for me to not get the norm anymore. And the norm I'm talking about here is the WGM-norm. After round 8, I got my WGM-norm. What? Like, the fact that I got a norm in 8 rounds and all I need to do is show up in the last round is crazy. Like, I'm still having a hard time processing this. And it's been, I'm recording this a week after the tournament. Imagine. This tournament, I get a WGM-norm after 8 rounds, but I have to play one more. And my coach was like, okay, look, I know that you're happy now. I know that, you know, you're happy with the norm, but the tournament is not over yet. My next round pairing was quite interesting. Let's go to the next game. In the last round, I faced Alon Greenfeld. He's a grandmaster, rated 2465. He used to be, I've been told that he used to be ranked 37th in the world. I'm very glad that I did not know about this information before the game because I might have crashed because of that. I did know that my opponent was strong, but I also thought that, it's fine. But this pairing was very important. I've been playing so well this tournament that I'm on 5 out of 8. And I was very close to securing the I am norm already here. Now what happened is that I think I was supposed to face someone rated 2470 something in the last round to secure the I am norm. It's like something to do with the average rating and stuff. But my opponent was less rated than that, lower rated. this meant that I have to make a draw in the last round. Now, you can imagine how that feels. I'm playing with white pieces. I want to play as solid as I can. And obviously, I want to try to win as well. But the main focus is I want to draw. So my coach was telling me that, you know, I know that you got the norm, the WGM norm, but you can go for more. And people were telling me, all I need to do is draw in one game. If I play another tournament, I have to start all over again and play 9 rounds at this level. That's not easy. Now I just need to play well in one game. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm like so sleep deprived. I'm struggling to eat. I'm like suffering in so many different ways. But because I'm so energetic and it's like I have unlimited energy. I did not know what being tired was anymore. It did not exist in my vocabulary at all for these few days. I was ready to play well in the last round, and I treated it as any other game. Whatever happens, happens. And I don't want to play for a draw. I want to play for the win like I always want to. But if it so happens that the game ends in a draw, so be it. And I'll be very happy. So, e4, c5. My opponent has been playing in this tournament the same classical Sicilian line over and over again. Does seem like quite the expert in it, because also in this game he knew exactly what to do, and that is without him knowing that I played this line, because this was not, I never had this played in any of my games that are in the database. So he doesn't know that I played this, but still he knew very well what to do, and he might have figured this out behind the board. But yeah, he just played perfectly, and my coach was also like, yeah, he played really well in the beginning. I also want to quickly add that there is a variation that forces a draw. And I was ready to go for this, because basically this is not good for black, but you know, like black cannot really avoid the repetition here anymore. If white wants it, that's it, that's done. That's why you don't want to play g6 here. Ironically, when I talked about this with my coach, like my coach showed me this as a forced draw line, basically. There was one game, and with the black pieces, it was my opponent. Like, he had one game in this variation, and yeah. I thought, whoa, that's interesting, maybe there's a chance. But I kept thinking, why would he ever want the draw against a 2200 rated player? I was listed as 2224 during the tournament, so that's even worse. So why would he play for a draw against me? Like, the only reason I can find is because he was not really fighting for prizes, I think, anymore. At least the top prizes were out of reach. But yeah, of course he doesn't want to lose to me or draw against me. But yeah, he didn't play this line. Also, his opponent, when he played this, played something else. Like, he avoided repetition. But I was ready to go for it. So yeah, anyway, e6 happened. I was like, oh, I guess we're in here for... Well, I didn't think it was going to be a long game, but I thought, okay, at least we're not finishing the games that soon. But yeah, slowly but surely throughout the game, a lot of things happened. I was very proud of this rook h7 move. Amazing. Queen c4. I decided to trade queens because I just don't see a plan for white, if you think about it. I mean, my rook is nicely placed here, but what does it do? Especially now that the queen is gone. Like, I was trying to control the 7th rank, but now the queen is gone, now what? And if I play queen d2, I was thinking of b5, rook c8, b4. I really didn't like the situation here. And I thought, I only see plans for black, which means that we have to trade queens. So I traded queens, and we got into this queenless middle game. We played on, and here I made a mistake. Well, I didn't know it during the game, but apparently there is something with g4 here, and the idea is that after f4, knight c6, because obviously I don't want to take, my rook has to move, right? First black has to play b4 here, the knight has to move, and then knight f6, because now the rook is hanging, and the pawn on e4 is hanging, and I'm losing a pawn by force. I didn't see this, I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, we were both focused on this b4 pawn push, I guess. So he played knight c5, I played king b1 because I was scared of some knight d3 shenanigans, I don't know, at some point. Actually, b4, rook takes b4, and knight d3 is the threat. So king b1, rook b8, we both were missing this g4 idea completely, until after this, he played g4, and I thought, oh, I guess that's a move. And I didn't realize that this was so dangerous. So here I was forced to take. And then we got into this position where my opponent has some scary pieces here. There's not a lot of pieces left on the board, but rook g2 is quite scary. Apparently I'm supposed to play rook h2 here, but that's not a move I refuse to play this move willingly. So I went for knight g4. I want to stop that rook on the g file whatsoever, allowing knight takes e4. Now this was very deliberate because I know I'm losing the pawn on e4. But what I didn't realize is how annoying this is, because after knight takes e5, bishop f6, here I started to think. I have 22 minutes on the clock. So far we've been playing the moves really quickly, like we're on move 31. We have like 9 moves to go right now. And yeah, we're doing great on the clock. So I was feeling really confident here. But this was a very critical moment, because slowly but surely I started to realize that, you know, I was calculating knight takes f7, f takes e4, knight g4 back. But what I didn't like, first of all, knight takes f7, it took me a little while to realize this, but knight c3 is just losing. Because knight takes c3, bishop takes c3, and rook g1 is just a problem. Well, bishop takes c3 not right away because there's some checks. Rook g1 first, the king goes somewhere, I don't know, here, and then bishop takes c3. And I cannot stop the checkmate. It's simply incredible. It took me some time to find this, but when I found this, I'm like, wait, what? That knight c3 move is horrible. It's so dangerous. Knight takes f7 bad. I even calculated, like, what if I give up the knight and maybe I have some repetition ideas here along the 7th rank, but no, the king is just... I calculate that, so let's say the knight moves here, knight d6. This is obviously checkmate, so that's not happening, but basically the king runs all the way there and is safe on a8. If there was a rook on a8, I think I would have survived this. But a8 is free for the king, and this is why it doesn't work. So that is why in this position, I cannot move the knight. And this took me 20 minutes. I spent 20 minutes here. Knight g4 bad. Knight takes f7 bad. Knight g4 helps in the sense that the rook is not able to enter here on the 1st rank or even the 2nd rank on the g file. But knight c3, knight takes c3, bishop takes c3 is horrible. Because this bishop is so annoying. Soon my opponent plays f5 and I'm toast. Like I have to play this and then this. This is just slow death. So then I realized this bishop can never land on c3. If this bishop lands on c3, I can almost resign. Having that position against the GM is done. So then after 20 minutes, I played f takes c4. Now obviously, as I was streaming my games, the chat was going crazy. Oh my gosh, she's down to 2 minutes. What's going on? Oh my gosh, she's in a worse position. Oh my gosh, like everyone started panicking because I need a draw. And what am I doing? Not really getting the draw. I'm quite losing here. But I had everything calculated, at least for the most part. I had decided what I was doing here, what I wanted to do, and that this was the best chance I had. It was basically a sort of process of elimination, that all the other moves were just bad. And I came to the conclusion that I have to take either the knight or the bishop off the board to have a chance to make a draw. And that's how I came to the conclusion that I have to take on e4. And after bishop here, I have rook h5. Because obviously my opponent is threatening rook g4 or rook g2 and entering on the 1st rank, blah, blah, blah. So I thought, if my opponent gets to g4 with the rook, at least I want to get to that pawn on a6 somehow. How do I get there? We provoke the move f6. Now I have time to play king c1. And now after rook g4, I am going on the other side of the board to grab the pawn on a6. That pawn on a6 is lost. But first I have some issues to take care of. The knight is hanging, so I play this. I played king d3 because now f4 is not possible. The rook will be lost, so the rook has to move. That's why it's not so easy to play here with black. And as the game was progressing, like as you can see, I'm down quite a bit on the clock, but I was also very excited about the position because it's really not easy for my opponent to play here. Rook h4, I give a check, because now my opponent has to answer a very difficult question. How do you resolve the check? If you go to e8, I take on a6, and now the e6 pawn is hanging, and e pawn might get scary. If you go to d6, I take on a6 with check, and then the king has to move, and it's my turn again. But my opponent went for bishop c7, and here I was very excited because I have the move knight d4. I was very happy about this because now my knight is back in the game. Here it was blocked by the bishop and very restricted, but now the knight is back in the game, and I am threatening knight takes e6. e5 is not possible because I take the pawn on f5. Pushing this pawn is not helping at all because my king is also very close now, especially after f4. I guess there's no king e4 because f3 check. But yeah, after f4, I probably would have taken on e6, and yeah, that's good enough. Suddenly, the position is equal. It's crazy. Just to quickly share, I believe that the winning move was king f7 here, which is completely insane. Like, why would you do this? I guess it makes sense in hindsight, but during the game, it makes sense that you play king d7 because you want to be close to this side of the board. What if my pawns start pushing, right? So king d7 made a lot of sense. But yeah, basically, ever since knight d4, also knight d4 was the 14th move, so here I have 30 minutes extra. I was loving my position. So here, my opponent's trying to complicate matters, and I tried to not fall for any of his tricks, but once he played the move e5, I was so happy, because I'm taking his last pawn by force. There's nothing that my opponent can do. If rook f4, king d5, and I'm just taking that pawn for sure. So my opponent decided to take, and now we are in this endgame. And I thought, okay, this has to be a draw. Well, I played with b4. After the game, I found out, or people told me that you didn't have to play b4. Because what I didn't realize is that the king has a really hard time to get involved in the game. If king d5, b4, and then it's definitely a draw. If not king d5, then there's no other way for the king to get involved. You have to like go around with the bishop, and then with the bishop on e5, king on f5, and then you can maybe access the opponent's king, something like this. But by that time, I'm going to push the pawn and try to win if you really go crazy like that. So that is why I didn't have to do anything here. I could just sit and wait. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened with me. I just assumed that I was going to lose the pawns. I don't know. It was completely unnecessary. But okay, I decided to get the draw in a very hard way, or try to. King d4 was what I played, and then I lost the pawn. I thought that I had to give up both pawns somehow. Apparently it was not necessary, but yeah, it is what it is. And then we landed on move 60. We got into this rook bishop versus rook endgame. During the game, I had a really hard time remembering how easy this is to defend. I know that rook and knight versus rook is easier to defend for the rook compared to this endgame, but I thought, I have 12 minutes. I can figure it out. I'm chilling. I have no stress, no pressure, nothing. I'm fine. I think it's gonna be fine. So the way that it works now, basically, I'm trying to survive this for 50 moves. If for 50 moves there's no capture and no pawn move, the game can be claimed to be a draw. So my job is to survive until move 111 or 110, and then on move 111 I claim it. Endgame has definitely been lost by people. A lot of people have lost this. And I was, during the game, kind of oblivious to it, like, oh, show me how it's done. So the game went on for 50 moves, and one thing that I can tell you is that my opponent never pushed me to the edge of the board. Not even once. I was just chilling. And I did make it difficult for my opponent, which I was very proud of. But as you can see from my clock situation, I didn't even spend that much time. I was kind of chilling. And then at this moment, I claimed the draw. I called the arbiter and I said, well, the way to claim a draw, you write your move on your score sheet, you pause the clock, you call the arbiter, you tell the arbiter, look, I'm going to play king g5. And then it's been 50 moves at least that the game did not have any captures throughout the 50 moves or no pawn moves. You just say the 50 move rule and they know it. My opponent didn't want to give the draw at all, which makes sense because he's trying to win, right? And also I was a little bit messing around, and the next move I was gonna land on the edge of the board because now black was well positioned to push me to the edge of the board. But that didn't matter anymore because that's it. It's been 50 moves. King g5 was the last move and the game ended in a draw. I could not believe what happened. You have to imagine that this game, we were the last game to finish. I was so far pretty lucky in my games that the games were not too long, but then this game was, I believe it was at least 5.5 hours, almost 6 hours, and I managed to win, like, it felt like a win, but I managed to get my WGM-norm with this draw, and it really felt like during the game that, okay, if I want the norm, I really have to fight for it and do my best for it. And I did it. I was over the moon. I'm still am. It's so hard to believe because before the tournament, I never imagined that I would get even remotely close to the norm at all. Like, I have been playing so many tournaments in the past 2 years. This year was also quite crazy in terms of tournaments. Like, I have played a lot, but the results were not quite happening. It was not good enough. It was nowhere near WGM level. And here, I suddenly get an IM-norm. My performance rating ended up being, I think, about 2480, 2485. So this means that I got my second WGM-norm, my first IM-norm. And for the IM-norm, you need a rating of 2400. Your performance rating in the tournaments has to be 2450. So since I crossed both the 2400 mark for WGM norm and the 2450 mark, that's why I got both the WGM norm and the IM norm. And with this tournament performance, I am officially above 2300, and I cannot believe this. Like, I have been playing so many tournaments, so many games, and I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere close to 2300. I got to 2260, then I dropped to 2220, and I thought, oh, this is so bad. But yeah, I did it. I can't believe it. Now, you might be wondering, what did you do to get to this? How did you do this? First of all, I have to thank my coach for this so much. My coach is Thomas Sosa. I've been quite open and public about this, so it's not like a secret. But yeah, he has been helping me so much, identifying my problems, mistakes, helping me with my preparation. A lot of his work has helped so much. On top of that, I've also been working a lot on chess. I still have some distractions, but for the most part, I have basically pushed aside a lot of distractions. So when I started Road to WGM, I already like quit games such as Valorant completely. Like, my full focus is chess. Sorry. My full focus is chess. Whatever I'm doing is about chess, and that also means that I start to get more curious and interested about following other people's games, seeing new opening ideas in other people's games. And I was basically just looking at chess more and more, something that I was not really doing as much previously. I've been doing study streams on Twitch a lot. I recently completed this book, Thinking Inside the Box by Jacob Agard. Being busy with chess all the time, or like for the most part of my time, has helped me so much. I wrote a course this year on d4, d5, and that also helped me in so many different ways. I also want to add that in this tournament, apparently I entered a flow state without realizing. I think I have had this it's sort of a motivation boost at the board. I had this a few times, like here and there, but now I had this for a couple of days straight. Now that I know that I have this in me, like, it's there. This is basically how I'm playing at my best right now. This is the best I have. And I was really happy that I could show this, and the fact that I am capable of this made me feel like, okay, now I can try to do the same thing in my next tournaments. I learned a lot about this flow state thing. I never thought it was a really true, legit thing. But now that I know about this, I'm going to look more into this. I also guess that I was in like a routine every single day. I had breakfast and lunch, or I tried to have lunch. But I also made sure to be well, like hydrated, but also that I had a banana every single game. Like, it became a meme on my streams because I had a banana with me every single game. But it just is so important to have enough energy during the game. You're losing so many calories, so much energy is being spent on, at the board. So it's really important to recharge. The best way to do that, the most healthy way, is by eating a banana during the game. But yeah, that's basically, like, everything fell into place. I tried to take care of myself as much as possible. I had good vibes. I have good people around me. I'm so grateful to have such a wonderful community that is there to support me. And honestly, it didn't hit me that I got the norm until I saw the VOD back. Like, I was still very numb, and I was like processing everything and struggling to comprehend that this even happened until I saw the VOD, and people went absolutely crazy on me getting the norm. So yeah, that was really insane, and I still love watching that VOD back. I'm really glad that it's gonna be forever on YouTube. So yeah, I love rewatching that. There's so many little things that help so much, and it's important to figure out what works best for you and to work on your weaknesses. Now that I have worked on my weaknesses, it's still like a long-term process. This is kind of what I signed up for, like let's say 1 or 2 months ago. I told myself, okay, we're in here for the long run. I'm not gonna prepare for the London Chess Classic. I'm gonna prepare for many months, years, whenever I am capable of getting my title. And I think that's mindset shift really helped myself as well. That, you know, oh gosh, I'm leaving to London in 3 days. I have to fix my French opening now. No, I was like, I'm just going to the tournament and I'm going to study slowly, but I'm not preparing for the tournament. I'm preparing for the long run because I want to get the title, and that title is not happening in one tournament, right? So yeah, I guess like a lot of mindset shifts have happened too. I take losses much better, generally speaking, and I just try to enjoy the game and have fun. And I had really fun games. Even the last game was so much fun. Like, I was really enjoying my time and laughing and smiling that, you know, we were in this end game, and this is the end game that I have to play out now and prove that I'm worth the WGM-norm. Was really funny to me. But yeah, I also knew that as I was getting closer to the 50 move rule that I did it. I think that sums up basically what helped me and what I've done to get to this norm. So yeah, with that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for the support, for the love throughout this journey. I see almost all the comments, and I couldn't do this without you. It's so weird to imagine that like a month ago I was like thinking, oh, I don't like where I am. I'm like so low rated. Oh, like I'm still not 2300. There's no way I'm going to get 2300. And here I am, way above 2300. I have an WGM norm that I could not even like dream about. I'd never thought of getting an WGM norm. I would like to thank my community members for supporting me in this event, as we had a donation goal for this specific event, and my community basically completely funded my tournament. So I mean, without them, I maybe still would have played, but of course it would not be the same, and it would cost me a lot of money because London is a very expensive place to stay in. So I'm super grateful for their support. And also I want to thank Alliance. Alliance has been supporting me for the past couple of years, and without their support I would not have been able to play so many tournaments up to this point. And they have they've been of such big help in the road to WGM. So without their help I could never have played so many tournaments, and every single tournament has taught me so many different things. And yeah, I couldn't do it without them either. So I'm so grateful that Alliance helped me in my journey as well. And yeah, basically everyone around me has been so helpful, so supportive, and I'm so grateful for that. So yeah, I cherish the people around me very much. And yeah, I hope to keep going. Of course it's not over because I'm not WGM still, but my tournaments will resume in 2026. I'll work very hard so that I'm ready for my next tournament. I am planning to play one tournament in a month from now, which is only a 6-rounder, so it's not going to be a 9-round tournament when I get a norm. We will see when the next 9-round tournament is going to be. It might take a long time, so stay tuned for the road to WGM. For now, if you watched the whole thing, thank you so much for watching. I wanted to include as much as I could. It was quite the journey. This tournament was crazy in so many different ways. I'm sure there are some things that were very important to mention that I forgot about, but it's fine. It's fine. There's only so much I can mention and remember. But yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope to reach newer highs in 2026. I mean, I truly thought 2025 was an awful year until the last 2 months happened. So yeah, anything can happen. After rain comes sunshine, and the sunshine is here also in my room, as you can see. I hope you enjoyed this thorough recap of the tournament, and I hope to see you in the next video.